Everything else was put on the side. My health, my mental health, everything, because it was what had to happen. So that was just such a goal of mine. Get out of the field, because that was not allowing me to work on my business. I was in it. At this point, okay, I am so much happier to have complete time freedom now, right? And so that's been like this for quite a while now, and that's because I have chosen to pay other people to do all of the things I don't enjoy in the business.
Hey, candid cleaning conversations. Everybody gather round, it's a celebration that we're still standing. Big up Katrina, she the inspiration. Came up from the bottom, she here with that motivation. Here to teach and inspire, help you aim higher, help you dream bigger, get what you desire. Real recognize, real iron sharp as iron. Let us grow your cleaning business. She ain't playing around, yeah, the queen mean business. Just stick around, get down with a podcast. Hold it down, here we go, foot on the gas. Candid cleaning conversation. Hey, hey, hey.
So what I was thinking, why don't we conjugate something and maybe hit up Joel and let him know that we're going to be raffling off like for a free clean. Like maybe somebody can like give an inspiring story about someone who can't really afford it, but they need the help. Not just a cancer patient, but maybe it could be a mom, it could be anyone, but just have them to maybe submit stories, right? They write in a story, somebody writes in a story, and we do a clean for them.
Yes, I get so much free publicity because of these giving initiatives. The newspaper will write about us, the magazines will write about us, TV will talk about us for free because we're doing these giving things. Because now it's not an advertisement for Serene Clean, even though it is. It's look at this wonderful program that's available. And so when it comes to getting creative of very affordable or free things to do, or where you're just donating labor, right? And that can be very affordable. Like I see that as how we spend our marketing dollars, really, as opposed to Google ads or something, which can work absolutely, but we don't spend any money on that. We don't need to, because you start doing these types of things, and when it's growing your brand, it's making people want to work for and with companies who care. And and it's not just like this token, we do this to look good. It's like, no, this is just who we are. Like this is who we are. And
you can't fake it.
You can't fake it, because it's like the proof is in the pudding. You can see for so long. And so that, combined with early on doing cleaning giveaways on Facebook, that really helped build our momentum as well, and built our audience so that people really pay attention to our Facebook page. So if I do want to drum up business or something like that, or pretty much we use cleaning giveaways as a celebration now. And what I mean by that is, 5-year anniversary just hit in April. So thank you. It's 5 years. We're hopefully going to survive to 10.
You will. You'll be here.
And so it's like, okay, we're going to give away 5 free cleanings. And so in order to be entered, you need to like, share, and comment on this video. And so all of a sudden you get this spread of free sharing, because that's how they enter, and then their neighbors see it. And so and I get a lot of booking requests because just being like, I'm interested in this company. So that's another, and again, like it's so cheap to share, like, or to give labor compared to money, right? Because I can pay somebody whatever, $20 an hour, rather than give like $100, or you know what I mean? So anytime you can donate to raffles or charity events or anything like that, like give a certificate for free cleanings, we definitely always take advantage of that.
Awesome. You just answered my question, because I always ask my guests, what differentiates you from the competition? And she just answered that.
There's nothing generic about this is a huge mistake I see so many companies and established companies make, is there's stock images of cleaning like just all over their stuff. I'm like, oh, you think Facebook doesn't work, or you think all this doesn't work? Why would I relate to that? Who cares about that? So if that content could apply to any cleaning company in America, don't have it on your stuff. So you need to show like who you're all about. And that's when I say like standing out. It's just so easy. Use yourself, use your team, use your thoughts. And again, this is all free, and that's how you stand out from the masses, is you need to have that personality. And as well as, all of this to say, we're killer we are really, the quality is there, so you can demand that high price. And this is, I bring it back to my cleaners all the time, and just reminding them their purpose is, I say to them whenever we do these like charitable things, it's like the only reason we are able to afford this is because every single day you guys show up and you kill it. And we're really hard on you when it comes to quality, you know, or not hard on them, but have these standards that we uphold to them, because that allows us to then have the reputation, the ripple effect of being able to charge more. And it's just like, it all really is a circle. It connects of like, you can't charge high unless you can prove that you do good work, and your employees need to see that. And then if they're motivated to do that good work, all of a sudden you can charge higher again, and they can pay them more. So it's just like, you need to have really high standards, and we are not a wipe down service. If somebody wants that, they go elsewhere. We will not remove tasks from a room. You can cut out rooms of your house to like fit the budget better. We're not going to like not do floors. We're not going to piece part together a room because even if they say they want that, it's not going to feel good when you walk in and the floors aren't done. Even though you told us to do that, like I want people to have a certain feeling when we service their home. And so if we can't like create that experience for them, I'm not interested. If you're going to nickel and dime or whatever. And not saying we have a very budget conscious group of clients, of course, and that's where we do limited hour cleanings, where what's your priority list? Okay, 3 hours a month or whatever. Like we absolutely will facilitate that, but I don't want to ever dampen our value or have our cleaners start to get in the habit of cleaning less than what we expect, even if the client, because that becomes a bad habit. Then is, oh, well, I'm used to, you know, you just get kind of lazy daisy when you start getting okay with doing that, even if the client asks for it. So quality standards, quality control is such a huge part of our
you
ethos.
Gotta have it. How many houses a day is your ladies cleaning?
So an individual cleaner is most likely going to have 2 houses a day. If it's a first time clean where we have multiple cleaners, it probably is just that house or maybe a little thing afterwards. At most, if it's small appointments or maybe an Airbnb, they'd maybe go to 3 places in a day. Commercial's a little different because they're smaller. And the reason, and again, I'm speaking completely against companies who do like, you know, teams of 4 and they slam through like 6 houses in a day. And I'm not saying that can't work. Clearly it does. However, I know for myself, I find a lot of mental exhaustion from transitioning from one house to another. Even if I'm technically cleaning the same number of hours, starting a new house is just very like, where it's like, it's a lot more peaceful. It's like, I just got these 2 houses. That's it. And because we're so rural, there's a lot of driving, you know, involved. Commuting. So it works well for us, and they like it. It's very peaceful for them.
And so your ladies don't work in teams. It's just a solo cleaner. They got 2 houses a day, and that's the schedule.
And sometimes it's one if it's a big house, or really it's not even like straightforward because everybody works different hours. They have different start times, different end time. I mean, there's a basis, of course, of when most of our cleanings get done for houses, but the flexibility is a huge proponent of like what I want to offer my staff. So they're like, I can only work till 2 every day. Okay, I'll take you for those 6 hours. If you're gonna, you know, I'd rather have you be a consistent long-term employee for 6 hours a day than burn out on 8 and quit on me in a month.
Period. I was just saying that.
I don't think I'm not a big fan. I've never been a big fan of full-time cleaners.
It's really physical. I can't do it. Like, I'm wrecked after a week of full time.
I recently just went out and filled in for my daughter an account that she had a few days ago, and a tiny little account, tiny thing, took an hour, honey, and it drained me. Because when you haven't cleaned in a long time, and then you take your butt out there and clean. I was like,
I do it to know I still got it. Sometimes when I go back to Wisconsin and to get some content, I'll be covered in bruises. My nails will be broken. I'm like it's disheveled. Work. I'm like, holy crap, how are they doing this full time?
Yeah, it's physical. It's physically draining. So I would only accept part-time cleaners. I'm not full-time. And I used to be a full-time cleaner. I can't believe it. I used to be a full-time cleaner.
How do we do it?
working at the hospital, environmental services, cleaning all of these rooms for 8 hours. I couldn't understand how
house cleaning, I think, is even more strenuous. There's a lot more like the scrubbing and knee pain and bending over and things. So most cleaners are not actually cleaning for 8, even if they say they're full time, that's counting the commute time, right? Because you're obviously paying them while they're driving. And so, most of them are cleaning for at most 7 hours in a day because they're, they have to commute in between houses. And anytime they're like, oh, I really want to make some more money, like add more houses, 100% of the time they burn out and ask us 2 weeks later to take those off them again. So it's like, we have to talk them out of it sometimes. Like, listen, I know you think you can do this. You're not going to be able to sustain it.
I got
we got a lot of that.
So everybody is always confused about supplies, techniques. So what are some supplies that you cannot live without? And like, what are some things that you have learned over the years as far as when it comes to techniques and how to clean faster?
So we are definitely very, very simple on our supplies. We clean the majority of the house with Dawn and water, like that, microfiber, right? So, and put some essential oils in there for scent, right? And so started with that from day one. Obviously, a barkeeper's friend, love a soft scrub. We will not use bleach. It's literally in our client guidelines. And that is not only from I get headaches from it. I don't want my cleaners using that kind of stuff on a regular basis, but really from a liability standpoint. So we always have, we clean with aprons. I don't know. Do you guys clean with aprons? Well, for commercial, not really, but residential, it's like, it's like our tool belt basically. And so you got your bottles on the hooks, you got all of your tools right here. You don't have to keep going back to your kit. That saves a lot of efficiency. However, sometimes your bottle gets ripped off your side and the water dumps all over. And I've had that. I literally had that happen at one of my first houses. Was the bottle opened up, spilled water and Dawn all over her carpet. If that had bleach in it, guess who would have been replacing the carpet. So that stuff happens. So it's like, how do you, you got to think worst case scenario. If the cleaner gets this thing and something it's not supposed to. So it's like, toilet bowl cleaner. We don't use toilet bowl cleaner at all, at all, unless it's commercial, because we don't want it in their kits, because they see these things on TikTok and they put it on the grout, and no matter how many times you beat it into people's heads, they try to go off the approved technique because they saw something online, and it's like, that's not what that's for. You are going to damage things. So we'll just put some baking soda in there, or some barkeepers or whatever, and scrub it around, and disinfectant obviously on the actual toilet. So microfiber obviously is huge. And I'm preaching to the choir. I'm sure this is all very basic, but for first times, we send a power drill with scrub brush attachments to every single first time, because that's where, so we've got drills at each office. That's where the buildup, and that's what's going to kill your shoulders and the time it takes. It's like, so let that thing soak, with your whatever cleaner that you like, and then take the drill to it. It'll knock out that soap scum. So that really helps. And things have just changed over the time. I read Speed Cleaning, the actual book, when I opened, because again, So no, we don't. That is not the method. So we started with schmops because I didn't know, but now we do tornado mops from Libman, and we really like those because they're self-wringing, and everyone's got their method for a mopping, and that's totally fine. This is just what we have found that works best. And it constantly evolves. And this is where our cleaners we welcome their suggestions and feedback, and we want to we try stuff out all the time, and say, should we add this to the kit or not? Would this be useful and worth the space, right? And hauling it in. And so, for example, we had a new cleaner start, and she actually worked at a cleaning company, I think in Milwaukee. And typically we do not hire people who have cleaned professionally before, because they have some bad habits and thoughts sometimes. So I prefer somebody with no cleaning experience. But however, she just dazzled us. Her name's Shelby. And she was like, we have a duffel bag for all of their cloths and the clipboard with their checklist. And then they have their kit and their vacuum. And she was like, have you guys ever thought about a supply backpack? Instead of the duffel bag, so you can have your hands more free? Because hauling all your stuff in, and we're like, how the heck, after 5 years, have we never thought of this? And so it's because really looking at what makes this job annoying, how can we reduce all of the little annoyances? And we just actually promoted one of my great cleaners, Hannah, to our new position we just came up with in August, and promoted within, and it's the field development and quality assurance specialist. And so her whole job is checking on the cleaners, doing any continuing training. All new training will be through her specifically, so we can control it completely. And then she's going to be doing all the quality control. But really, it's looking at the pain points that the cleaners are experiencing. How can we make this thing easier? If this is a drag, because it may be a little thing, but when you compound that days and days of like, this is so annoying. Hauling supplies in and out is so annoying,
It
especially when
is.
it's raining or
It
snowing.
is.
Like,
Oh
so it's like,
my
how can we make that a little bit easier? You know, and
Wow.
obviously you have to think scale of like,
Yeah.
like the money associated with things. And that's why our all purpose is Water and Dawn. Because I
Yeah,
don't have to spend any money on it
yeah.
hardly. And so,
Yep.
you know, looking at, okay, I have about, I think 30 staff members, obviously some of them are managers. So it's like, okay, if I have to supply everybody with this thing, is that cost, you know, going to be
Right.
worth it? And oftentimes it's not. And we try something out and we abandon it. And that's okay. It's okay to change your mind, you know?
Yeah. So how do you deal with keeping up with the supplies? It amazes me because our worlds are so different.
Mhm.
Right.
My contractors, they of course have their own supplies.
Yes, yep.
So I don't have to, you know, keep up with them and all
Mhm.
that. I can imagine. So if you got employees, you send them out, do they come to the office and they pick the supplies up, go do the houses, drop the supplies off, or are they taking the supplies home and just keeping the supplies and replenishing them? Like, how does that whole work?
Yeah, so to give context, when I started with my little apartment, I had a yard tote outside and they'd just come grab stuff from the yard tote before I had an office. Don't recommend, because you don't want your employees to know where you live.
Yeah.
That was definitely, I
Oh,
shouldn't
yeah.
have had that, because if you get somebody angry, they're going to egg your house or something.
Uh-huh.
But that didn't happen, luckily. But anywho, so when we got our first office, it's just kind of evolved and morphed. So now we have 3 office locations, and those are specifically one to show up on Google. So we have them in those specific areas, but they're all like about half an hour to 45 minutes apart from each other. So we're
Okay.
still in the same like
Ooh,
region of
yeah.
Wisconsin. And so outside of the Google, the main reason is to have a place for the cleaners to replenish their supplies. So we keep all the offices stocked. And you're like, how do you do that though, right? We literally have an inventory sheet of everything that we want in their kits and in the office for them to replenish. And we just have one of the cleaners each week. We just assign them, you know, a 15-minute appointment, says go fill out the inventory, check what we got. We'll order and Amazon ship them there or whatever. And it's or to the office and we'll take them there. But when it comes to how the cleaners handle their kits, they absolutely can keep them. And it is their job to replenish whatever they need. That's just part of the role is, and that could look like a lot of things. Maybe they just come once or twice a week and just really stock up. Most of them are hitting an office probably every other day at the least.
Gotcha.
Because depending on if they got a first time or it's a specific commercial account or they need a special checklist or tool, we'll put that in the notes again to prepare them. So they're not having to guess of like, make sure you take degreaser or you'll need the super long duster for this. Like, and so they just come, they check their notes, they come get what they need, but it is their responsibility. Of course, caveat, in the winter in Wisconsin, your whole kit freezes, so you need to take that in, because otherwise you're thawing out your spray bottle at the beginning of the cleaning. Yeah, definitely has had that happen. So, but yep, they can take it home, no problem. It's their responsibility to maintain their, like, each cleaner gets a vacuum. We have them all numbered and we assign them, because otherwise they treat them like WWE, throwing them everywhere. So vacuums are, you know, vacuum maintenance is a lot for that many vacuums. We have like a whole corral of vacuums. I am like they're farm animals or something. It's very lots of vacuums. And so by assigning them, that has definitely increased their responsibility. Teaching them how to maintain it. Literally having videos. This is how you clean the filters. This is how you check for clogs. Because otherwise they'll drop them off, be like, this one doesn't work. And you open the dang thing up and it's like,
you just got to clean it out.
Yeah, there's an entire rabbit of like stuff in there. And yeah, so really holding them accountable to maintain and respect their equipment. You know?
Okay. You know what my fear always was with that is, like you said, they have to go and they can like pretty much fill it up whenever they want, right? But how do you know if they're filling it up and going and cleaning their own jobs?
Oh, that's a good question. So that is definitely part of our employee guidelines, is no side jobs. If we find out that you'll get fired, basically. So unless it's approved, you know, like, hey, I want to help my grandma clean or something. Like, of course, that's fine. But you know, we really haven't had that, I'm aware of, that issue where they're going through, and because they don't really have site, we're not allowing them to do it because they're not independent contractors, they're employees.
They're not supposed to.
And so like I said, I've inspired some cleaning companies from former employees, and so obviously, like, I'm sure there's been some minor things
Yeah,
here and
that
there
slip through.
that
and
slip
then
through.
You find out your inventory is going down.
Yeah,
quicker,
and so
you're
that's
"Hold
really
up
well
now."
watching it, and that's where it's
Yeah.
just monitoring how much are you going through and saying hold up and correcting. So for example, toilet bowl wands, the like disposable ones, those are for move outs. We save those for move outs, or at if the client doesn't have a toilet bowl scrubber, because that is something we require the client to have. One of the only supplies is you must have your own toilet scrubber.
Right,
They'll have ours as a backup, like the disposable ones, but those are super expensive. So literally we have an itemized list of all the supplies, what we're spending on each. And if we see an uptick in like, whoa, we're going through this, the cleaners need to be corrected in some way. Like, hey, you're going through this much, it's costing the business however much money. And this is the only reason you should be using this is last resort. They don't have a toilet brush, or you're at a move out clean that's, in a vacant home, right? So then it goes down dramatically. Or if you're seeing just like that's why you have to monitor this stuff and track it, because you don't know, things are going to slip by you and people can really pull the wool over your head. And that's where even like outsourcing and delegating of the office work, you need to have a basic understanding of that stuff, because that's how embezzlement happens, because you don't know, you don't even know the basics of bookkeeping. So how do you know the person is not doing that? You need to be able to check. And it's like, just because you don't like something is not an excuse to not have a basic understanding of that in your own business. Like I could technically do any of the management roles. Probably, I wouldn't want to, nor would I probably be as good as them, because I'm so out of practice with like all the nitty gritty nuance of like the scheduling and stuff. But I have an understanding of it, so that I'm not ever like made a fool of, and not that it hasn't happened all the time, but like, at least in this instance, you need to be able, and that's where I am a big fan of like the owners cleaning, having a history or basis of it, because then I do so many consults with people who do not want to do any cleaning from day one, and that's fine. You're going to have challenges that we wouldn't, because we know how to clean and we did it.
You're touching on
yes. And so like anybody watching this who's looking to open, I'm not saying you're going to be cleaning forever, but if you don't know how are you supposed to check it? Who's going to be the fill-in when you call it? So it's like, I think that the internet has caused a lot of unrealistic expectations.
Correct.
It absolutely has. And who's going to do the training? Who's going to train these people? If you're going to have employees, you don't know how to clean, you don't want to clean at all, well, that means you're going to be spending money on somebody who can teach them, or excessive training programs, because even with great online training, in-field training has to happen. You can't, you got to have them like hands-on.
Know how to do it, no one can pull the wool over your eyes.
Absolutely.
Like I know how long it takes to clean a 2,000 square foot home, because we've done it so many times.
Right.
I know how long it takes to clean an apartment versus how long it takes to clean a house, because I have physically done it before. Okay. Right. Versus listening to someone else who says they're expert, going in there, they can tell you anything. And that's just what you have to deal with, But my second question was, have you ever experienced employee getting pissed off, going and maybe keeping the supplies, or just taking all your supplies?
No, I've never had a clean out. We have cameras in every location. that kind of mitigates it, because the threat of police involvement usually takes care of that.
There
and
you
just
go.
get some cheap ones on Amazon. Easy enough. The employees know there's cameras too, but they don't maybe know where they all are. So never have we had that in 5 years.
Thank God.
Not saying it can't happen, but at least you'll have the proof. So just if you're like, you got to protect yourself. Like, you're opening yourself up to risk by having an employees. It's well worth the risk. So how do you protect yourself as much as possible?
Awesome.
All right, so I'm gonna go a little bit deep.
Now,
okay. It's totally sidebar.
We're gonna get to the good stuff.
Yes, because you know what I do. You seen this? You seen surviving the cleaning industry. You know the side that I tap into sometimes. But I want to talk about briefly on the past, right? How your mental state is very, very important when it comes to running a cleaning business, because you have, not only do you have a business to worry about, you have payroll to worry about, you have inventory to worry about, but also you have your personal world. You don't have any children, but how are you able to balance everything and still have your sanity with your past of the divorce and just going through all of that? Like, how are you able to do that?
Yeah, there's definitely, well, first I will say there was no balance in the beginning. Everything else was put on the side. My health, my mental health, everything, because it was what had to happen. And so and I'm not saying that the whole point is there's seasons of the business, or there's seasons of you in the business. And that season was necessary. If that level of work was necessary. I wish I had gone about some things differently and not put things on the sidelines so much, because I was just so laser focused. But that focus did allow me to. So you need to really determine what you are willing to sacrifice, and that will determine how fast this thing's going to happen. And and by trenches, and like the worst part, which is you're still in the field and you're doing all of this stuff, right? Or at least partially. And so when I say in the trenches, that people get stuck there, they can't get out of the field, right? And so the goal is obviously to get out of there as soon as possible. So that was just such a goal of mine: get out of the field, because that was not allowing me to work on my business. I was in it. So I would say, I definitely made a lot of mistakes when it comes to balance, but it's just the whole, you can't pour from an empty cup, especially physical health. Like if your physical health is not being taken care of, meaning, okay, take 10 minutes before you run out the door, put some food in a dang box and take it with you to the cleanings. I would clean all day and not eat, and your blood sugar's dropping. And I didn't even get hungry, because it's like, you're just cleaning. And then at the end of the day, I'm just destroyed. You're not stretching, you're not working out. You need to take care of this vessel. Otherwise you're going to be just, it's not going to work, or you're going to make a bunch of money and then at 40 die of a heart attack, so it's just like, you got to keep that in mind. And then just as soon as you can afford to start delegating and paying somebody else, it is like, you're either going to have money or time in the beginning, or neither. Well, really you have neither. But now it's like, at this point, okay, I am so much happier to I have complete time freedom now, right? And so that's been like this for quite a while now. And that's because I have chosen to pay other people to do all of the things I don't enjoy in the business, or I'm not good at. So now I only do the things that I love in my business, which is the marketing, the branding stuff, just a lot of that type of thing, and all of the financial tracking. I love that, and I will never delegate that away, because I think that's important that the owner always does. But so I started, it was never just like, oh, all of a sudden got life balance. It was just slowly better and better, till all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is okay.
This feels a little
it
better.
feels better. So it's not gonna, it can be forever, but you don't want it to be, meaning like those pain points, the trenches. And so just know it will incrementally get better only if you start to document your processes, only if you start getting your pricing right and consistent. Like, it's never going to get better if you keep doing the same things that you're doing, over and over. So it just slowly got better. And then, it was whatever, 4 years into the business, 3 years in the business, going through, a over year-long divorce battle because of the business. And it's like, you don't want it to grow, because I did not want the business to grow during that, because that was the contention, was he was trying to come after it and say that he was because in Wisconsin, I don't know if Georgia, but in Wisconsin, it's a communal property state. So even though it was my business, he had zero to do with it. Started it before we got married. He was saying he was entitled to half of the value. And my employees were all like, we will testify he has not stepped foot, like, and he actually told me not to take that Fort McCoy job, that $1 million project that then he was trying to say that he deserved half of it or whatever. So, and he didn't like to work either. So, so one, to get your business valued at that level, it was $7,000 just to get the dang thing valued, and then argue about the value, because it's very difficult to value a service-based business compared to a product-based business. There's a lot of variables that go into it. So that alone was very difficult. And then, coming to an agreement with and trying to not go to court, and sue all of those legal costs, with lawyers and things like that. So yeah, and the mental strain of, I would say that was like the biggest, like I would say low point mentally I was, because I'm like, here's this thing that I've built and maybe it's about to be taken away from me. And even like saying to him, like, that I don't get paid out of that checking account. That savings account with all that money, those are the Christmas bonuses, and saying like, that's what you're trying to take away. And like, and his response of being, well, you can go without a paycheck if you want to give them a bonus. And it's just like, so it was so hard. And keeping my managers in the loop and kind of leaning on my people, which is very vulnerable, to say like, hey, like, this is what's going on, because it is a delicate balance of like letting your employees in the know, but you never want them to not have confidence in you. So that means sometimes you have to struggle silently, because that's not their job to worry about that stuff. And that is
you don't want to scare them up, because you're their security.
Exactly. So you need to be this strong front, and it's okay. So I'm very calculated now, not in a cold way, of the type of vulnerability I show them,
right?
Because I never want them to not think that we're this rock and we're going to be here to provide for them as a career and a job.
Right.
But yeah, I do share with my employees, like, I'm sure it's a very, like, and it's funny, every week we, at the meeting, it's like, share one thing you're excited or grateful for. And then we talk about everybody's weekend and what's going on in our lives. And it's like, it is very, family-like without the toxicity, I hope. But, and so, and so sharing after the fact, like how difficult that was for me with them, because the business was secure, because we ended up settling. And because of that Fort McCoy job, I had a lot of money in the bank to kind of like give him as the sacrificial lamb, so that he did not try to, because he didn't want to run the business. He just wanted the money from it, of course. So it was terrible.
Yeah.
And so but honestly, going through that has taught me so much. And also, like, it's really solidified more of just like what I'm doing this for. And like, this is why I was put on this earth. I know it. I absolutely know it is to impact, not only from the cleaning itself, but just all of this stuff that we're doing now. Like, that's brand new for me. Is, I reached out to ZenMaid earlier this year, and I was like, hey, I like to record videos. I put them in the Facebook group. I like doing the Maid Summit talk. I don't like to edit. I don't want to build a YouTube channel from scratch. As you guys know, that's very, very difficult. It's like, I have no interest in managing a YouTube. But I was like, I'll make content for you guys if you want. Like, that sounds fun to me, because I love this. I don't want to go edit this video. I'll do the talking now. And so that's how that started. And so it's just like, that has been so richly rewarding. Like, is being able to impact and teach, it's so rewarding.
Did you ever have a moment during your difficult time where you just wanted to give up the business?
Yeah, definitely. There was times of like, why bother, like, and just feeling so low on myself too, of like getting myself in this predicament, and I think a lot of times when you end something, whether that be a business partnership or a relationship, even if you know it should end, that doesn't make it actually easier, even if you know it's the right decision. And so there's definitely times where, laying in bed all day, like, and just kind of like being, not present in the business. And I could afford to do that, which I know a lot of people cannot do that. So I know that was a luxury, to be able to just be depressed and lay in bed. That itself is a luxury. And
matter of fact, being that you say that, the first time I got sick, really, really sick, that was the first time I realized that the systems I created were working.
Yes.
Because I didn't have to go to work, So I literally was like, wait a minute, I'm able to take a break. Even so, I was literally working and I didn't have to work. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't until I got sick one day and I was in bed with my computer and I'm like, wait a minute. I had an aha moment. All of my systems were literally working. Everybody was doing what they needed to do. The admins were doing what they needed to do, and they didn't need me to be on their back. And I can take that time out to heal, because it's stressful.
Yep, it is.
It's very stressful.
That's why it's so important to like build this foundation, because bad things are going to happen to all of us. We're going to go through really difficult times. Don't even know what that is yet. So it's like being able to create a business that allows you the space to retreat and take care of yourself. That I haven't really thought about that in that way of like, wow, that is luxury. That is the highest form of luxury, is to be able to say, I don't want to do this right now, so I'm not going to. And there's no ramifications. Like, you know, I can just do it.
So the fact that you run your business from Savannah, what does Stephanie's day by day look like? What does your week look like running your business all the way from Savannah?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do very little like required work for Serene Clean, a lot of like extracurricular, like I probably don't need to do. So, you know, Mondays is always our team meetings, and then a brief management huddle where we kind of talk about any challenges we see from this coming week, any from last week we need to discuss. We do typically a longer management like strategy meeting later in the week, but not every week. And so it's just kind of, you know, what are we looking at this week? Any issues? But usually it's just everything's so predictable. Like it's either, you know, cleaners or clients, those are your issues, right? And so, so you know, kind of just talk about that. Honestly, yeah, I just don't have to do that much work for Serene Clean. You know, it'll be, you know, I do a lot. Like I'm a big fan of batching things and doing as little task, like switching between tasks as much as possible. Like I'm about to hopefully get diagnosed with ADHD because everybody keeps telling me I have it, and I'm pretty sure because I'm so easily distracted. Working from home is very difficult because I'm like, I'll literally stand up from my computer like in the middle of an email and like go clean the dishes, and an hour later be like, oh yeah, like I'm like, what the heck just happened? And so yes, I'm actually about to get an executive assistant. I'm hiring for one right now to help wrangle all my stuff, because now it's like, okay, the freelance consulting, the content for ZenMaid, and then Serene Clean things, all of these things are like hard to like manage together administratively and just like conceptually for my brain. So there's been just a lot of like growth and switching gears with a lot of things. But when it comes to managing Serene Clean, you know, I literally, just put everything on a reoccurring task of like, okay, I'm going to make all my testimonial graphics today. I'm going to make all my before and after graphics today. Put some updates on the website, like all the marketing stuff, put it together. All the financial stuff, put it together. Every Tuesday, I do all my financial tracking for the past week, right? Or maybe like this Tuesday, obviously it's a new month. So I did my budget audit, and then I did my projection of the budget that I anticipate us to hit for this month. And I audit a couple other kind of financial stuff, share that in my thoughts with the manager. So literally just like take all the categories and, as I say, put on different hats, like put your hat on and stop jumping around. And I know that that's really difficult when you're the frontline communicator of your staff. You have, and the clients, you have to be so on and like really responsive, but you need to be able to say, like, look at something and say, does this need a response right now? Right? It's like, can this wait? Like, how important this is? Because if it's like cleaners are in the field, they need this thing right now. I get it. Like you need to get that. But batch email responses for us, estimating, we're at now, it's like, as long as we get the estimates out within 24 hours of it coming in, that's our rule. That's my expectation. And that's because, you know, before, where it's like, I want you picking up every phone call. I want, like, we need to be really responsive because we need every job. Now we're much more like within 24 hours. And I don't even have this is crazy. I don't want my staff answering phones. We don't answer the phones at all. I don't want them to. And so this is kind of extreme sounding, I know, but this is my reasoning. All right, Katie's my customer relations manager. Sue calls in and she says, I'd like a quote. They talk for half an hour. She has to go talk to her husband. If Sue put in her form filled out our booking form on the website, not only could Katie get Sue's estimate out in that half an hour, she could probably get 10 estimates out in that hour and answer any questions that come in from email. So they can certainly leave a voicemail and we'll call them back. Or if they press, you know, a number specifically that it's like an invoice question, then we'll pick up because it's specific. We do not want people just calling for pricing coming in, because we can serve so much better on the computer than we can on the phone. And I know that is going to really, like, I know that, and I will not, don't listen to me if you're just starting out. Don't listen to me at all. But like this was, and my managers were like, are you sure? And I'm like, it's an emotional thing that we're talking about. Like, we're not being logical. We're being emotional because we think people won't like it. They get so much faster response. We can text them, we can email them so much faster. And also, like, if I'm giving out somebody like a price, I want them to see our checklist. I want them to have all these links. Like, our sales process, I
Mhm.
want to be on the computer because
Mhm.
it's
Gotcha.
faster. And also there's no documentation needing of what we said
Mhm.
verbally, even though the calls are recorded. Like everything's in writing and organized by email. Every lead has their own folder, right? So I can just be like, what did I tell them? Oh, it's right here. Everything, the email, I want everything in writing,
Perfect.
right? And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I don't want that. Like they obviously call people back. And again, they batch that. Like I'm going to call all these people back and are very efficient. And so when we're talking about scaling, like we actually are able to give way better service because we don't answer any phone call.
Wow. So are they able to book online through the ZenMaid?
So when I say a booking form, it's really a request form. Yep,
Oh,
an estimate request form. So
okay.
we do not let people book online, and the reason I don't let, and I'm not saying it can't work. Obviously, it does.
Yeah.
However, the sticker shock will scare people away for us way faster, and then we don't capture their email. So the only reason I would say do that is if you can capture their email before you give them the price. Because if you can't get that contact information, they see that price, how many are jumping off and you don't even
Oh,
know.
yeah.
So I don't want them
Gotcha.
jumping off before I am able to, woo
Yeah.
them, to hold their hand
Right.
through this
Right.
like romancing of,
Right.
I'm worth it kind of thing. And so
Gotcha.
that is what.
That's cute.
So you got a landing page, and they put in their
Mhm.
email in, and then they'll fill the form out, and then somebody will get back to them.
Yeah, and so our request form, it's very extensive because I
Okay.
want to know all of the information that we need to know
Mhm.
ahead of time. And there's some things that like show us that they're not a good candidate. So for example, we don't clean homes that have been smoked in. That is something I decided to do years ago because we cleaned enough of them where I'm like, this sucks. We have to throw all our supplies away. The cleaners hate it. And the people who smoke in their houses oftentimes you can never please them, and it's like maybe because they don't respect their home and so they smoke in it, and not trying to offend anybody, but we've just had such bad experiences. So I'm like, why are we cleaning a home that's been smoked in when we can clean this pretty house for the same amount of money? And so again, being kind of decisive and putting your line in the sand of what you will and won't do. So on our booking form, has this home ever been smoked in? Required. If they say yes, here's ServPro's number. Go call them.
Go call them.
We don't want to do it. And so, or if we show up and there's signs of that and they lied, we're leaving. Like,
what about pets?
what about them?
Like, do you charge extra?
Nope.
For pets,
So
or?
we're hourly. Remember, so hourly is just hourly. So however, if it takes longer because of your pets, obviously they put that information on there, but it just takes as long as it takes. So obviously, if you charge flat rate, definitely add for pets, add for all sorts of things, a la carte, whatever. But
So what if the dog pooped and they got the
Right, that's
poop
what-
up, but
yeah.
the poop stain is still
we'll
there.
clean around it, and that's literally again we'll clean around.
We just experienced.
Yeah, and
That's why I'm
so
asking, yeah.
this is a perfect example. So we've just completely revamped our training process, and like I mentioned, Hannah's going to be like the lead and only trainer. And so this is what our new training process is going to do. And the reason we're talking about poop, so this is why I'm bringing it up, is because those are the things your cleaners are going to run into, and they need to know how to deal with it. You may have told them, but it's so easy to forget in the moment when those types of things don't happen like every day, right? Those kind of oddities, if you will.
Right.
So we're going to have, each of my managers' homes are the control homes, and they do 3 days of control homes, and we are building in weird stuff into their houses. We're putting fake dog poop on Crystal's floor. We're leaving money on the counter in April. We're breaking something and leaving it. And so when you do and so that way the trainer can walk them through each of those scenarios and what to do, and practicing it visually, they're much more likely to remember it. What do you do if there's money on the counter, but there's no note?
Message.
Another message, you guys. I love that.
And that's very, very creative.
And
because we do that when it comes to, you do this, and when it comes to hiring, right? Instead of just putting them out in the field, we put them in family member homes, like just to see if you're going to be like the type of person with the contractor. Are you going to try to steal our clients? So we'll have our
that's a great
family
idea.
and friends. We'll be like, ask them, how do we get in contact? Just ask them and see what they say.
Test them. That's a great idea. Yeah. And so, doing it in paying clients' houses was so much strain on the trainer because they were having to get the job done and train. And it just feels so much better in a controlled setting. And again, like if we can build these things in when they come across it in the field, what do you do? So for us, they're supposed to do a walkthrough before they start cleaning and take a picture of any damage. So it's time stamped and send it in to us, attach it to their notes and send me, because we never want a client to be able to say, you guys broke my TV. Oh, really? I have a timestamp photo at 8:30 a.m. when they did the walkthrough that it was already broken.
It was already broken,
and so this is why. So if then during that, training process, they're not sending it, like, okay, that's what's going on there. Like, so we're trying to teach them how we want them to behave with all of the weird stuff, because it is so much more than cleaning. Like, there's just so many things. Or at April's house, we leave them locked out. We lock them out. So then they have to run through how do you handle being locked out of a customer's house? Because we want our cleaners to take the initiative to solve that problem before they contact us. Because one of the biggest traits of our most successful staff are they're able to think critically and think and solve problems. Because if they need you to solve every problem, it's so annoying. And so how do we teach them and facilitate that?
I'm going to employ you.
Listen. It's like you are, you know how you build a bear at the store? It's like you're building a bear. Like, I love how you're thinking analytically to the point where you're helping them to think on their own.
Teaching them how you want them to think. And that, okay, because before it was like, they're like, I'm locked out, what do I do? And then we're calling the client, we're texting the client. They got a cell phone, they got the client's number. So they are not allowed to reach out to us. The first thing they must do, call the client, leave a voicemail, send them a text. Then they message the managers and they say, okay, I've called and left, and now they're supposed to sit for 15 minutes and wait for a response. If not, then we go on our way, charge the client the fee or whatever, the lockout fee. And that's the solution. But the cleaner is doing the brunt of the work, right? I think over time, again, it's just, what are the problems that you keep facing? And it's like, how can we eradicate or at least mitigate, limit this problem from happening? I'm so tired of the cleaners needing me to wipe their dang butts, So it's like, okay, how do we facilitate them like growing that skill of problem solving? And sometimes they just are not capable of it. This person can, like, and that maybe they're going to be like, and that's maybe residential cleaning is not a good fit. There's a lot more problem solving that needs to happen in residential. We've started people on residential, switched them strictly to commercial. They're happy as a clam and been with us for years now, but they were ready to quit because they hated houses so much, or vice versa. And so it might just be a bad fit with that type of cleaning. I have several fantastic commercial cleaners. I would never want them as a residential cleaner, because just it's personalities, or like their skill set is different, or they really like the routine of, I go to these facilities every day. It's the same every day.